Welcome to this MSc Trauma Sciences webinar. Some of the team are here tonight to give you a short presentation about our MSc, tell you a little bit about what we do, and then give you an opportunity to ask us any questions you may have. So I'll kick off and introduce myself. My name is Elaine Cole. I'm a senior lecturer in trauma sciences at Queen Mary University, and I'm the Director of Research and Innovation for the London Major Trauma System. And I'm the co-director of the MSc in Trauma Sciences. And I'll allow my other co-director to introduce himself. And welcome, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. My name is Chris Elwin. I'm a consultant trauma surgeon at the Royal London Hospital. And I'm also a senior lecturer and co-director with my work wife, Elaine. Chris, over to you.
Hi, I'm Chris Gunton, and I've probably corresponded with some of you via email, either since you've applied or prior to applying. I am the administrator for the MSc programme and also the emergency medicine programmes as well. So hopefully we're here to answer any questions you've got in the run-up to the new year.
David, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Hi, everyone. I'm David Bell. I am the Marketing and Communications Manager, and I work for the Blizzard Institute. So I help with comms and those sort of things for various programs we host at the Blizzard.
Thanks. Okay, so I'm going to, as I said before, and I'll say it again, welcome everybody. It's really great you could join us. And I'm going to hand over to Chris because he's going to run through a few slides. And then if you have any questions, if you could just sort of either jot them down in the chat or hold them till the end, and then we'll open the floor to you guys. So thank you very much, Christopher.
Chris, you're muted.
Apologies. Hopefully you can all see the screen. Is it big? Is it a full screen? Not the presenter view. Yeah, good.
Yeah, we can.
All right. So welcome again to our MSc webinar. I'm going to run through who various people are, a little bit about the course in the background, and what you might expect to see on a sort of typical a typical day, and roughly what the course entails for those of you who haven't had a great chance to look through the various bits of information that are on the QM's website. So as we've already said, the MSc is co-directed by Elaine and me. I started at QM UL back in January 2022. Elaine's been around for a bit longer, but she took on the course a little bit earlier than I did from previous Professor of Trauma MSc, Susan Brundage, who was the director for many years. The course was actually started in 2011 by the guy in the middle there. This is Karen Brohe. He's the Professor of Trauma Sciences. He is fairly well known in the world of trauma, is a big researcher in coagulopathy and bleeding, and he set up this MSc, as I said, back in 2012, which has continued to grow very well over the last 10 years or so, even during COVID. Chris is, up here on the left, she is the guru, and that if you have any sort of issues that are not academic, Chris always knows the answer. So any sort of administrative problems, she will be the first port of call on the whole. And if she can't answer it, it's a miracle that she can't, but she will pass you on to somebody who will be able to. On the top right there is Jack Rappaport. She's a lecturer within the Blizzard Institute, and she helps as a sort of I don't quite know how best to describe a teaching fellow, pastoral care. What else, Elaine? I'm struggling. She basically
student support. So if students
Yeah.
need help with academic writing, referencing, citation practice, and things like that, she's there to help with that.
And you'll get to know Jack. She is a highly useful asset, and the students all love her, and she gives great support to our students across multiple programs in the Blizzard Institute. So again, do use Jack's skills and support whenever you need it. Bottom left and bottom right, those two are the directors of the orthopedic arm of the Trauma Sciences MSc. So there is a orthopedic trauma MSc, and Pete Bates on the left and Kash Akhtar on the right are senior lecturers, and they're both consultant orthopedic and trauma surgeons at the Royal London as well. Although we have the two courses have very similar contact. We are separate courses, but you will come across these two and some orthopedic other tutors during the course of the MSc if you decide just to do the Trauma Sciences one. So we are based at the Blizzard Institute. This is the Blizzard Institute. It is in Whitechapel in East London. This is probably the nicest picture possible of the area. Makes it look amazing. A roundabout is less salubrious as looking as that. And in fact, that area is going to become some sort of gardeny city chilling out zone. Unfortunately, though, you are on, if you decide to come to us, on a distance learning course, so you won't visit this. So it's a little bit of marketing. It looks nice, but you may well not come, unless, of course, you come to the summer school, which more about that a little bit later. What you will be seeing a lot of is QM+. So QM+ is basically the centre of the MSc. This is where all the learning resources are hosted, all of the module contents, all of the lectures. It is also the gateway through to live tutorials, a bit more about which we'll talk about later, and also various other things like Twitter feeds, and also correspondence and notifications from either module leads or Chris or Elaine or I. So you will get a login to that, and you'll come to this landing page, and below all of that will be all the various different modules which will get released to you as they become live during the 2 years. And what the years look like is this. So year one is a heavy year. Don't underestimate how much work is required. Each module is 4 weeks taught program with a week in between each module for students typically to complete whatever assignments are required. Each module has an assignment, and the assignments vary depending on which module there is. So there will be some that have a written assignment of about 3,000 words, and the others will have MCQs. Module 1 has a written assignment, Module 4 has a written assignment, Module 6 has a written assignment, and so does the research methods, which more of, again, I'll talk about in a little bit, and Elaine will probably, I might bring Elaine in for that bit because that's her baby. So the hemorrhage and response to injury, neurotrauma, extremity and vascular trauma, and burns or humanitarian, military and humanitarian modules. The module 7 are the two optional modules, so you can choose one or other of those. They are all MCQs. So it's quite hardcore in terms of they roll into one another apart from a short break over Christmas. So don't underestimate how much work there is. Each module will have a series of recorded lectures from faculty from not just the UK, but from Europe and from the United States, from South Africa, So some pretty big names in trauma care for those of you who are up to date with the trauma literature and teaching on trauma from around the world. So as I said, the QM Plus is the repository of all of that. Each week, as I say, we'll have a different number of recorded lectures that you can go through at your own pace. Each lecture will cover various parts of the learning objectives for the module, and you can go back as often as you like. Typically, we try and suggest to our module leads that each lecture is no more than about half an hour. Short and sharp, we think, is better than lots of long recorded lectures, which I'm sure you'll all agree. So we try and keep it short and relevant to the various learning objectives that are in each module. Each week there will be, on the whole, one live tutorial from typically the module lead or some fairly senior faculty, if not the module lead. And that will typically last for about an hour a week. The timings are not set. The timings try to be a little bit flexible, but we'll never be able to keep all of the people happy all of the time. So there will always be clashes. We can't necessarily cater for too many international students, but we can try and do our best. But on the whole, often, unfortunately, the tutorials are dependent a little bit on when the faculty can make it. But all the tutorials are recorded. If they aren't being recorded, please remind the tutor to press record. Otherwise, we get cross on your behalf, as you will do. Assignments, as I've said, so 2,000 word essays, so 4 of those and 4 MCQ exams, and they're timed. So the clock will start as you press go, and you have a certain amount of time to do the MCQs. The assignments are beyond anything that you might have done in bachelor degrees. Obviously, this is a master's degree. You have to reach a certain attainment to be able to progress and pass. People, unfortunately, do fail both the written and the MCQ assignments. So don't underestimate that. We expect and demand, as you I hope understand, a certain level of academic capabilities to get through it. And then year 2 has a module of research methods, and then the rest of year 2 is the dissertation. And I think that is a good point to hand over to Elaine to explain about year 2, because she will do it better than me.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you for all of that. I just want to emphasize what Chris has said about the fact that year 1 is a lot of work, especially when you're working full-time as a clinician. But the benefit of doing a distance learning MSc is that, as Chris has said, you can access the taught materials in your own time. And this year, we've had a lot of students who've had other responsibilities. They've had children or caring responsibilities, and they've been able to make this MSc work for them because they haven't had to be at a classroom at 9 o'clock every Monday morning. They could listen to the lectures in the evening once the kids have gone to bed, or in between shifts or whatever. So that is a real positive, I would say. The work is hard. Level 7 work is hard. But we as course leads and the module leads and people like Jack will do our utmost to make sure you have the right information to pass the assignments and successfully complete the MSc. The final part of the MSc in the second year is a dissertation, and where students are expected to either conduct primary research or conduct a systematic review with a meta-analysis. And we have very, very sort of tight criteria around our dissertation, which is very successful because we make our students, once they've done the research, done the meta-analysis, we make the students write the dissertation up in 3,500 words. Now, if you've done a bachelor's degree or you've done other master's programs, you know that other dissertations are often 10, 15, 20,000 words in length. So ours seems really, really short. But we do that on purpose so that once you've submitted, you've had the dissertation marked, and if you're successful, it takes very little work to then convert that dissertation to a publication. And we have a very high publication rate from this MSc, which I think is amazing, because, you know, there's nothing worse than doing loads of work and then the work just sits on your hard drive until you chuck it after a couple of years. So a very positive outcome for students is publication as a result of their dissertation. So yeah, I hope I've solved that to you. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Elaine. So that's sort of the talk component of the course. We have in the summer recess, or at the end of year one before starting year two, something that we call the summer school. And the summer school is a residential stay in Whitechapel, where we arrange, and it's normally, well, this year it was 10 days. So it went from Wednesday to the following Thursday straight Friday. And we basically have a mixture of very few lectures sort of to set scenes of various topics and things, but largely it is an interactive project type sim, all sorts of things that we do to get you guys together, to meet actually face to face for the first time, to meet the faculty face to face for the first time. And students on the whole love it when they come, and we love it as a faculty, because instead of, you know, sometimes faceless names on email exchange or tutorials, we get to meet you for the first time, which is great. Is based in Whitechapel. We have a number of different days of sort of practical sessions. This is one that which is often a highlight for many people, is to go up onto the helipad at the Royal London Hospital, which, if it isn't pouring with rain, has an amazing view of both the City of London and Canary Wharf, and even the Olympic Park from 2012. We also always get the obligatory group photograph, which everybody loves and takes off with them. We do a sim day in our sim suite in Whitechapel, with multiple different scenarios, getting you guys to play different parts, and, you know, to stretch perhaps your comfort zone a little bit. We also do something back on the helipad with our pre-hospital crew, pre-hospital air ambulance crew, and go through various scenarios, which again, lots of people love. Not everybody gets soaked as per this this photograph. In fact, the person who throwing the bucket unfortunately no longer works London's air ambulance, and he no longer works there, not because he threw buckets of water on people, but he moved on anyway. That is also another popular day, and we have one other practical day where we take you to the Royal Veterinary College, and basically do some trauma surgical scenarios and operations on pigs, which again is very well received both by the surgeons among you, as well as those who have no previous surgical experience of trying to do, showing a little bit of how trauma surgery, how we perform trauma surgery in real life. I think that's pretty much it from what we would like to say. We are happy and hopeful that you guys will have any questions, and if you've got any sort of questions, whether that's administrative, whether that's academic, whether that's anything else, please feel free to either shout out, or if you would prefer, just put it on the chat. So, unless anybody else from the faculty have something to say, Elaine, is that your hand up?
Somebody just sent me a direct message to say that they are not able to, because of where they're situated, hear all of this. So they're asking whether we will be recording this and sharing it. And I believe that that is the case. Yeah, Chris, that's right. Yeah, just to reassure people.
Yes, it is being recorded.
Yeah.
And we believe it will go onto a YouTube channel somewhere, and also onto the QMUL course finder page. But I think David will email everybody. Is there a set amount of spaces? Chris, no, there are no set amount of spaces for summer school. It's as many or as few of you who wish to come. What's the next thing from here on for the course? Chris, I think that's for you. What happens now?
Okay, so that's Abbas and Chuck are here with us. They're our Commonwealth scholars. So congratulations to both of you for
welcome. Yes.
They're both here. Excellent. So from here, sort of middle of August, you'll start to get information both from myself about the programme, about what's going to happen when, sort of dates and times for initial tutorials and stuff, but also the university centrally will be contacting you about enrolling. So there's kind of sort of two streams of things. There'll be the enrolment, which you have to do with the university, and then a bit nearer the start of term, which is the 18th of September, if you don't know that already. You'll be getting onto QM Plus, which Chris showed you earlier, which is the online learning environment, where you can start to view some initial stuff there prior to module 1. There was another question
about payment, Chris.
About payment.
Yes,
that's what I've just scrolled back up to. Yeah. So how it works is the fees are paid annually. So when it comes to September, you'll get an invoice for the first year of fee. But what you can do is set up a payment plan. The payment plan is only 2 installments though. So it would be an initial payment in September and then another payment in January. And the exception to that is if you've got a postgraduate loan, because those payments are made, I think it's 3 payments across the year. So you would have a separate plan made up if you've got the postgraduate loan. I'm going to put a link to our funding page in here once we get through the questions. But that's generally the standard payment plan is 2, and it's a £50 fee to set up the payment plan. As well, if you are being sponsored, then you need to provide information about your sponsors when you enroll. So it will normally be a letter, which obviously has to include their contact details, etc., so that the invoice can be sent directly to your sponsor. For the Commonwealth scholars, that will be dealt with directly, so you shouldn't have to worry about any of that. Right, just scrolling down. Where were we at with questions?
We've got Hannah. Are there any compulsory live attendances for the tutorials? No, Hannah, you're all adults. You either make it or you don't make it. So no. Having said that, I can assure you as a tutorial lead, the more people, the better. It makes it a far more useful learning experience for everybody. Especially if lots of people are asking questions. So the more people who are at the tutorials, the more people who are asking questions, the far better learning it is. From a tutor point of view, there's nothing worse than trying to give a tutorial to 4 people, all of whom have their cameras off and don't interact. Just saying it, that's all.
But we also know that, you know, the majority of people are very busy clinicians and working shifts. So if the tutorials fall outside of a time where you're available, then we understand that.
If someone does fail a component, is there any opportunity for resit? Yes, there are. Chris, do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, so you have 2 opportunities to pass a module. If you are unsuccessful that first time, the resit period is over the summer. So we're currently in the resit period for the academic year that's just taken place. And generally, well, if it's an assignment, you would be resitting the same assignment. So you have another opportunity to obviously work with the feedback you've received from that first opportunity to improve it to a passing level. With the MCQs, that is not another MCQ. The resit for the MCQ modules is an assignment, so that is a different one, just to be aware there.
Good.
I think there's no more questions at the moment. I think I'm just going to jump in, if that's all right, Christopher, and just say that I think one of because there are now lots of MSCs, there are lots of clinical courses on offer, whether they be short courses or sort of level 7 education like this. But I think what makes our MSc stand out is we're not just focused on pre-hospital care in the emergency department, which a lot of courses are. They're very much at the front end of the patient's journey, if you will, which is of course very important. We need to save these people's lives to get them to hospital or get them admitted to hospital. But I think one of the benefits of this MSc, apart from the fact that we look at some of the evidence base and we look at some of the science around the mechanisms, the pathophysiology, etc., but we also have talk content and exposure to surgeons, to anaesthetists, to intensivists, to burn surgeons, to orthopedic surgeons, people who are, and allied health professions, people who are managing the patient in the hospital. Now, if you're a paramedic, that means that a lot of the talk material is very foreign to what you do on a day-to-day basis. But by goodness, it increases your learning around what happens to the patient once they get to hospital. But, you know, we run other short courses that focus on the inpatient phase. And we believe that obviously it's the longest period of time that the patient stays in a hospital post-ED. And also it's really, really important that we make sure that people are educated in how to manage patients in those environments and understand the mechanisms and the pathophysiology about what they're seeing. Thank you.
Please, can you play an MCQ, multiple choice question, Chris? So there will be a STEM, setting a scenario, for example, and then asking a question about it, or just a question. And then there will be 5 options and you choose the one that is the right answer. I'd assumed you know what an MCQ was. Good. If you didn't, I was worried.
Unless you're not from the UK and you don't call it that.
Correct.
Any other burning queries or questions? All pretty clear.
Good.
Does anybody know anybody that's currently on the MSc or who has just finished the MSc? I'm presuming that you will have got some information from them as well.
The only other thing that might be worth saying is there are things called extenuating circumstances, which allow you to delay or postpone an assignment. The extenuating circumstances are controlled, as it were, or accepted, or you apply to the Central Queen Mary University of London. We have no influence. By we, I mean Elaine, Chris, and me. We have no leverage on your behalf. So you have to, if something happens that you can't submit on time, and if you submit late, there are penalties of submitting late, which will be all in the handbook and online. If you think you're going to be late and then you have a valid reason, and on the whole, the valid reasons are, Chris, for an extenuating circumstance?
Hello, they are things like obviously illness, bereavement. There's sort of 2 main examples. Things it wouldn't be would be IT problems, unfortunately. So and when you get to do an MCQ, you will see I put a statement there which says it's your responsibility to make sure you've got stable internet and that you're in a position to be able to, because it's a 2-hour exam, the timed MCQ, that you've got dedicated time to complete that. It's sort of your responsibility to make sure that, but also deployment as well. If you're in the military, that's an option. But if you've got any queries about it as we go through the program, just email me and we can discuss it, and I can advise whether it's likely or unlikely. Obviously, as Chris said, we don't make the decisions, but I'm very familiar with what is acceptable and what isn't.
And they have become more strict over the last couple of years. So things that won't is you having a busy shift at work, or you having another exam, a postgraduate exam, FRCS, FRCA, whatever it might be. Those are not reasons that the university will accept an extenuating circumstance. In fact, you should very, 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 very seriously consider not doing any other significant postgraduate degree whilst certainly doing year one, because the competing interests in your time and on your brain are sometimes too great for some people. Not for everyone, obviously, but if you're struggling and you're not putting the time in, the university, it won't wash. So just be wary about that. Are there PhD options or mentorship options, Abbas? I will hand that over to Elaine.
We do have PhD students within the Centre for Trauma Sciences, but they're completely separate to the MSc. Some of our MSc students have gone on to secure PhD positions, but we don't have a taught PhD programme within the Centre for Trauma Sciences as other universities offer. It's a research-based programme, and it really depends on funding and what we have available at the time. Mentorship options, I'm not sure what you mean by that. You will be allocated a personal tutor who you can speak to during the programme. And obviously, if people come into the tutorials, they can do peer mentorship. And I know that the students usually set up a WhatsApp group so that they can have a good old moan about us and moan about the workload, but no specific mentorship options. If you mean clinical mentorship, we don't offer clinical placements, but during the program you may make relationships with clinicians who may be able to facilitate something in the future.
Rob, our MCQs on a certain day. Chris,
yes,
you answer that. I'll get it.
So
right.
the MCQ quiz is open for 10 days, which covers the last week of the module and a bit over. So you will have those dates, and it's your responsibility obviously to find a 2-hour slot within those 10 days to be able to do it. Once, as Chris mentioned earlier, once you start the quiz, the timer starts, and that's your 2-hour slot. You don't get another opportunity to do it, kind of thing. You can't pause it. So it's really important that you set aside that time somewhere quiet with stable internet, etc., to do that.
Is it correct summer school is 8 days? It will be starting Wednesday, normally about 10 o'clock raw in the morning in Whitechapel, and goes through to the following Thursday evening. Saturday and Sunday there are no taught sessions, so Saturday and Sunday are free for anybody to do whatever they like, and if you're from outside London, people like visiting in there. Accommodation, I think everything's paid for, isn't it, apart from accommodation and your food
and your travel. Yeah, so everything that takes place in the summer school, other than obviously generally you need to pay for your own lunch unless we're off site at the RVC, etc., and then subsistence I would call it. We've got usually a couple of social events within the week or so that are paid for as well.
Kevin, scholarships, when's the deadline for payment, Chris?
So Kevin, your particular situation, just seeing, right, yeah, you're confirmed, is that you should be getting a 50% scholarship. So you will obviously your responsibility to ensure you have the other 50%. If you don't have the 50%, your 50% to pay by early October, I would say. I don't know the exact date off the top of my head. I would imagine it's about the end of week 3, which is around the 8th of October. You would need to set up a payment plan so that you would be paying the other half of the fee in January, if that makes sense. But we can talk about this via email, because I need to correspond with you directly about this anyway. If that makes sense.
Good. Anything else whilst we're here? Feel free to email us if you've got any other questions after we hang up, and we'll do our best to answer them. Chris has put email address on the top of this chat, so do have a look at that. It's also will be on the website. Good. Well, if there isn't anything else, and if there's nothing else from the faculty, no, then we will bid you a goodbye, and in the UK, a good evening, and wherever you are and whatever time, wherever else you are, have a good rest of the day or start of the day or whatever. Good. All right. Thank you, everybody. We hope that this has been useful. We hope that those of you who weren't sure are now sure. We hope we haven't put too many people off. And we look forward to meeting you all in due course. We hope in the coming weeks.
Great.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Good evening.